The time is precisely 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Chandima Veerakorn. Headlines. UNEP backs Sri Lanka's efforts as President Wickremesinghe presents Climate Justice Forum. IMF Executive Board to take up Sri Lanka's first review on the 12th of December. The workshop has been organized by the COPA to educate parliamentarians on the budget report. Navy receives Islamic blessings on 73rd anniversary. The Excise Department monthly income increased by 1 billion after checking fake stickers on liquor bottles. Over 900 metric tons of plastic generated in Sri Lanka per day, committee reveals. And in news overseas, Russia increases maximum size of armed forces by 170,000 servicemen. Local stories in detail. In a momentous move, President Ranil Wickremesinghe has presented the Climate Justice Forum, CJF, at COP28 in Dubai, UAE today, emphasizing the critical importance of addressing climate issues with a sense of justice and equity. The President was joined by prominent figures such as the former President of Maldives, Mohamed Nasheed, the Minister of Health of Uganda, Dr. Aseng Jane Ruth, and the Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, Inga Anderson. Addressing the launch, President Wickremesinghe conveyed that the resolution of the Climate Justice Forum will be formally presented at the United Nations. He described the CJF as an initial step to secure unwavering commitment from all parties involved in the collective effort. President Wickremesinghe underscored that the scope of contribution extends beyond the capabilities of countries alone, emphasizing the significant role private entities can play. Furthermore, the President drew attention to the allocation of funds, noting that more financial resources are directed towards the war in Ukraine and the bombing of Gaza compared to what has been allocated for the Loss and Damages Fund. The President extended invitations to other concerned nations to join this initiative, presenting it as a viable solution to the increased threat of climate change. Furthermore, the President has formally requested the collaboration and cooperation of esteemed organizations such as the UNEP, UNDP and the EU to engage with interested countries in advancing the pioneering initiatives presented by Sri Lanka. Ms. Anderson, in her address at the launch, emphasized the growing disparity between the necessary actions and the current efforts in the battle against climate change. She welcomed the Climate Justice Forum, asserting that it will serve as a potent force in unifying nations for this collective endeavor. The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund is set to take up for consideration the first review of the 48-month Extended Fund Facility EFF arrangement for Sri Lanka on the 12th of December. This was mentioned in the Global Leaders Executive Board's calendar, which mentioned that the first review of Sri Lanka's extended arrangement under the EFF request for waiver of non-observance of performance criterion requested for modification of performance criteria. Financing assurances review and rephasing of access are scheduled to go for consideration that day. It has been revealed at a workshop conducted to educate parliamentarians on the budget report that only 31,000 persons have paid their personal tax last year. The workshop has been organized by the COPA. The Committee on Public Finance facilitated a discussion on the 2024 budget reports for members of Parliament recently. The workshop was conducted in Parliament under the chairmanship of Dr. Harsha De Silva. The workshop was aimed at discussing the COPF reports on the fiscal, financial and economic assumptions used as the basis in arriving at total estimated expenditure and revenue, and the report on the estimates including whether allocation of money is in compliance with the policies of the government. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with the local stories, A unique Islamic prayer session took place today at the Juma Mosque on Chatham Street. The purpose was to seek blessings for the upcoming 73rd anniversary of the Sri Lanka Navy falling on 9th of December. On the sidelines of anniversary celebrations, the Navy has organized a series of multi-religious programs to invoke blessings on its 73rd anniversary. Officials of the Excise Department revealed to a sectoral oversight committee on national economic and fiscal plans that the monthly income of the department has increased by 1 billion rupees after checking fake stickers on liquor bottles. Above was revealed when the Sectoral Oversight Committee on National Economic and Fiscal Plans met in Parliament recently under the chairmanship of Member of Parliament Mahindananda Alutgamage. The Excise Department, Inland Revenue Department and Sri Lanka Customs were summoned to the committee to discuss the matters mentioned in the report given to the Honourable President by the Sectoral Oversight Committee on National Economic and Fiscal Plans. To conclude the local news, the headlines again. UNEP backs Sri Lanka's efforts as President Wickremesinghe presents Climate Justice Forum. IMF Executive Board to take up Sri Lanka's first review on 12th of December. The workshop has been organized by the COPA to educate parliamentarians on a budget report. Navy receives Islamic blessings on 73rd anniversary. The Excise Department monthly income increased by 1 billion after checking fake stickers on liquor bottles. Over 900 metric tons of plastic generated in Sri Lanka per day, committee reveals. That ends the local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
Moving on to the main news story. Some 938 metric tons of plastic are generated in Sri Lanka every day, the Sectoral Oversight Committee on Environment, Natural Resources and Sustainable Development revealed recently. The committee revealed that only 32% of the generated amount is collected and only 4% of the collected plastic is mechanically recycled. The officials pointed out that even if the rest is collected, it is being disposed of informally in the environment. This was discussed when the committee met at Parliament recently under the chairmanship of MP Ajith Manap Peruma. That came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
Moving on to Watchlight. A total of 13 selected post offices within the Western Province are kept open for 24 hours, police media spokesman SSP Nihal Talduwa said. Accordingly, the Boralla, Vallavatta, Havelock Town, Dehiwala, Moratuwa, Panadura, Kaluthara, Kompanjavediya, Battaramulla, Mount Lavanya, Nugegoda and Sitavakapura post offices will now operate for 24 hours. SSP Talduwa further noted that all fines and penalties imposed by the police can be paid at the aforementioned post offices. That came to you in Watchlight. On to the world news, the headlines. Russia increases maximum size of armed forces by 170,000 servicemen. British soldier killed off duty in Kenya. Israeli army says 400 targets in Gaza hit. Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed a decree to increase the maximum number of servicemen in the Russian armed forces by 170,000 people, the Kremlin and the Defense Ministry said yesterday. According to the document, the regular strength of the armed forces is now set at 1,320,000 servicemen. The increase in the full-time strength of the armed forces is due to the growing threats to our country associated with the special military operation and the ongoing expansion of NATO, the Russian Defense Ministry said. A British soldier has died while off duty in Kenya, the Ministry of Defence has said. The BBC understands 32-year-old Major Kevin McCool was on a motorcycle trip off base when he was attacked. MOD officials confirmed the soldiers' next of kin have been informed. But said it would not be releasing any details of what happened. Defense Secretary Grant Shapps led tributes to Major McCool, describing the death as a tragic loss. He added, "It's clear from the tributes of those who knew him that Major McCool was an exceptional person and an exceptional soldier, loved and respected in equal measure, who served his country with distinction." The Israeli army says it has hit more than 400 targets overnight, including in the southern Khan Yunis area, where tens of thousands of civilians evacuated to over the past month. Israel renews its bombardment of Gaza, hitting areas across the enclave after the end of a week-long truce. Negotiations to secure another pause in the fighting continue, mediator Qatar says. The UN humanitarian chief again calls for a ceasefire in Gaza, saying Palestinians in the besieged territory are surrounded by disease, destruction and death. More than 15,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since October 7th. In Israel, the official death toll stands at about 1,200. To end the world news, the headlines again. Russia increases maximum size of armed forces by 170,000 servicemen. British soldier killed off duty in Kenya. Israeli army says 400 targets in Gaza hit. That came to you in the world news. Moving on to the development news. The new skills test in the field of construction was introduced in Sri Lanka yesterday for working in Japan as specified skilled workers. Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment Manusha Nanaka, announcing the initiative, said, "Talented Sri Lankans will now have the opportunity to work in Japan and master skills in the construction sector that will contribute not only to Japan's construction sector but also to the future development of Sri Lanka." That came to you in the development news. On to the sports news. The 5th National Junior Ball Badminton Championship tournament will be conducted at the Wilfred Senanayake Playground in Homagama on the 16th and 17th of this month. Chief Secretary to the Sri Lanka Ball Badminton Federation, J.A. Shamali Renuka, said that more than 700 players are scheduled to participate at the tournament. That came to you in the sports news.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න. The all new NSB Itru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Moving on with the business news, for the first time in beverage history, local spirits made by Ceylon Breweries PLC were imported by Maylene Corporation of Kenya from Sri Lanka. This initiative, which would help to bring more forex to Sri Lanka, was coordinated by Sri Lankan High Commissioner in Kenya, Kana V. Kantanathan. Maylene Corporation is a leading conglomerate of Sri Lankan and Kenyan origin and plays a key role in bringing global tastes to Kenyan consumers through its FMCG arm, helping in shaping the beverages landscape in Kenya via introducing Globe products to the country. That came to you in the business news.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න. The all new NSB Itru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.